Hello, everybody. Karen here from Quantum Healing with Tina and Karen. We're back. I'm here today with Tina.
Hello.
So we're hopping on another call to talk about timelines, relationships, cats. There's a lot going on. I don't know where we're going to go with it, but we are just going to talk about it. There's a lot that's been happening in the everyday, and it's kind of hard for us to kind of keep track because, again, it's like macaroni day all day, every day. So, but we did notice like a couple things in sessions with clients, rando people like who just say things and you're like, huh. Especially about timelines. So if you want to talk about that, Tina?
Well, we've been noticing, when things show up in client sessions like multiple times, then we kind of start to pay attention and realize that it might not just be individual to that client, but something that's happening on a collective
Collectively.
scale. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to do a note here because sometimes these things occur not in like, let's say, BQH sessions. Sometimes they do, but let's say in remote spirit release sessions where I'm the one who's doing the reading, and sometimes like we have clients that back to back and I'm coming up with the same info and I have chatter in my head and I'm like, okay, are you just not original? Like, are you just repeating like so and so's session that you just did or so and so session that you did like yesterday? But I don't remember anything usually. Sometimes Tina has to recall it because she does take notes and whatever. And sometimes I'm just stumped. I'm like, go, yeah, do tell. Like, what did I say or what happened there? Because I don't remember. So, but yeah, it's just interesting that they do come up and they do come up in bulk.
Mhm.
And then they did actually occur not only in RSR, but they did come up in a body scan session or whatever.
Right.
So sorry, go ahead.
So it wasn't just coming from you.
No, and my unoriginal imagination.
No, so what we saw was like there's a compression of
Mm.
timelines happening
Yeah, see, I'm like, I don't remember that. But yes, I remember as you say it.
where, yeah, it's like they're being condensed and like into the now, like into a singular now. These timelines are being condensed. And what's happening is they're kind of like laying on top of each other. And this can have real effects on the physical body because the body is trying to process all of this energy from multiple timelines that are coming in and overlaying on top of this one. So it can even cause pain in the body, feelings of being ungrounded, um, heavy, tired, like exhausted because of all the energy you're trying to process. Another
Mhm.
a major symptom is intrusive thoughts. This was actually the symptom that brought these two clients to us, was these intrusive thoughts. And for the first client, we had actually done a remote spirit release to clear out any entities that could have been creating those thoughts. But those thoughts were still happening, even though they were less intrusive, the thoughts were still happening. So when that happens, there's like, okay, there's something else happening here that we need to look further into. And so in that session, we saw that again, there was this timeline compression where this goes with our last video that we just did about the dissociated parts. So there are parts of self that are frozen in time. And then those parts are overlapping onto the current reality, and those parts have their own entities. And then those entities are bringing in timelines, pulling in timelines in order to overwhelm the system. This was one of the first times we saw it happening in that way, to where it was like an accordion effect. So
Mhm.
it's like all of these timelines back to back to back are all coming into the one. And this is causing intrusive thoughts because it might not necessarily be entities causing those thoughts, but multidimensional aspects of yourself that are existing in other timelines. alternate realities that are overlapping into this one, or it's like the veil is thin between this one and these other realities, these other timelines.
Parallel. Yeah.
And so they're all coming into the now, and you're picking up on thoughts, voices in your head that aren't yours from the here and now, but are from aspects of you in those other realities. So it gets very convoluted.
Yes. Yeah, it does. I don't
Yeah.
even know how we explain that. I'm so glad that you understand what I talk about again, like when I see it or when I experience it in sessions, because it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
And then when you do like a recap, because I sometimes I talk and talk, trying to like give you all my visions, and then you like say it really like in one sentence, and I'm like, yes, exactly.
Yeah. And this seems to be happening on a collective level. The other way this is showing up is in dreams.
Mm-hmm.
So multiple clients have also expressed this, where in dream time, this is very difficult to explain, but it's something like my sister feels like my aunt, and or
Like
like
the energy of my aunt.
the energy of my aunt, but it looks like my sister, but it feels like the energy of my aunt. Or it could be like you have, say, a boss with your work. Your boss looks like your boss from the here and now, but there's a scenario playing out that overlaps with a boss that you had in the past. And it's like meshing all of these experiences into one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like this.
It's like parallel lives or, like mashups.
Yeah, they're just like kind of mashed together. Yeah. Then they're kind of all overlapping, and then they show up in dream time kind of like that. Um, yeah, it's very interesting. And I had a dream where I got the message that this was happening because of something that was going on with the sun. And the word sine was coming through as in the sine wave, as in time. So somehow the sun is affecting time and creating this compression of time. And that's why it's like pulling in these multidimensional timelines that are coming into the now, almost as if they are dissolving. So they're like dissolving into one.
Mm.
Yeah. So I'd be interested to hear if any of you guys are like noticing anything like that. So we had another client that reached out that said that she was actually experienced talking to other parts of herself in an alternate reality,
Mm.
where she was experiencing something completely different from this reality, but like actually having conversations with herself.
Mm.
Yeah. Which is really cool because in that way, it's very much delineated, like you can feel the difference. But when you just have like thoughts or voices coming in, you don't exactly know where that's coming from. It's just driving you crazy because you have these voices or thoughts coming in.
Mhm.
But yeah, that case is interesting. I've noticed some weird timeline shifts, and it could be just really little things. So you wake up one day and something just really small is out of place or different than it was the day before. For me, it was the strangest thing. I had my electric can opener on the counter and I used it that evening, and the next morning it wasn't working anymore, just completely stopped working. And it was because um you lift the handle and you push it down and it's supposed to press the thing to make it spin. Those two parts were completely out of alignment with each other. So it wasn't connecting anymore. So
Are
I
you still
thought,
able to use it as
no,
long as you press it? No.
I can't press it and pull the thing down at the same time. It doesn't work. So I thought that was interesting that it was out of alignment and not connecting.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. And that wasn't the only thing that was just a little bit off from the day before. My cat was acting strange. And all of a sudden, he stopped eating the food that he was eating all along. Just stopped eating it. They wouldn't eat it. And he loved this food and he just stopped eating it. So that was really interesting too. But this is how like little things can show up and show you that the reality has shifted even just a tiny bit, where
Yeah.
it's just a little bit off than it was the day before. Yeah. But there's a lot that's going on with the sun right now. I just saw that there were like 26 CMEs in the last day or so. So solar flares and coronal mass ejections. There's this huge hole in the sun that looks like a portal. It's this huge black hole.
Do you think it's
So,
affiliated with the moon, the full moon, the last one that we had? Because I find that's when all that timeline stuff started to occur. Like when we were together, it happened where we had lost time.
oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
I
It
don't
could be
know.
all connected somehow. I don't exactly know how, but yeah, that moon was really heavy.
Really heavy and it was weird. Created some weird shift or something.
What did you notice?
It's more energetic than anything. I don't really recall, but I just remember it being something changed. You know, like when something just changed. You can't really put your finger on it. Something changed. As if they're like moving the puzzle pieces like to fuck us, like to for us to be more confused or to figure it out. And I think it's also because, you know, I was thinking about how, we're trying to master our subconscious. We're trying to master our sleep time
Mm.
because if we are able to become lucid in dreams and to whatever, then we might have more of a you know the ability to exit the matrix if that's on your path. And it feels as if with the compression of all these timelines or whatever it is, it's adding more information to clog that ability to gain clarity in the alternate dimensions, in the subconscious and whatnot, because it's technically you in the alternate dimensions. So it's like they're adding on more shit to work through if you haven't really done the core work yet. So that's why it's hard to be like, fuck, I'm getting all these intrusive thoughts. If you don't know that they're not your thoughts, you'll take them as your own. So it's just adding more stuff to work through. I find a lot of people have shifted in their personalities too. Like if you look around for some things, like what we were talking about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
like the aggressive and then the kitty cat, like it was just really like something changed, shifted. I mean, it could be just a subpart or situational or whatever it is, but like there's just little things like that. Maybe that's a little more obvious, but you're just seeing how it could change. If you're not aware, you know, that's why it's like, it's just calling for you to be extra aware. Like we always say, hypervigilance, be extra aware of yourself, but you have to do it more, more and more and more. Don't take for granted that you're on top of it, you're doing the work, but I mean you got to be aware of what's going on the inside.
Yeah. Yeah, because I imagine something like that for, the compression of those timelines for somebody that's not aware. I mean, that could lead to a psychosis or a diagnosis of schizophrenia or, whatever it is. If you don't have the
Yeah,
awareness of
more
what's happening
anxiety.
energetically, anxiety. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I've been feeling an uptick in anxiety and my anxiety's been under control for a really long time, but I've been feeling super anxious, and that could be related to clients too. But um, I think there's definitely something energetically happening that is adding to that mix.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Totally.
Especially with, the stacking of timelines and the body trying to process all of that energy. Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure. Anxiety, feeling ungrounded. Yeah. Yeah. I'd be curious if you guys have any experiences with time or timelines or anything like that. If you could leave us a comment and let us know, because it's really interesting to hear other people's experiences, because when I brought it up in group, like everybody had something to say, about time or something that's weird that's happening. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
true. Great. Well, our next topic could either be relationships or cats. So, whatever you feel the appropriate transition, Tina.
Well, I'll let you take it with relationships because that's your favorite.
I love relationships. What was the topic about? I know you said relationships, but what were we
Well, we were
talking about?
talking kind of like love bite kind of stuff or matrix manipulation, how they create pre-bonded pairs.
Yeah. Uh, well, I wanted to bring up actually, because well, you didn't make me, but you highly suggested that we watch Twin Flame Universe.
Oh, yeah.
Oh God, I wanted to die. I couldn't take it. Whew. Um,
Oh, yeah. This is a great topic.
in the past, like, yes, Tina and I had kind of like identified, or we kind of questioned, like, are we twin flames? Maybe we are. Maybe we're not. I don't know. The thing is that, especially for people, because we're seeing it's such a prevalence in people attracting either narcissist or, that really imbalanced relationship. And those are usually like the false twin things. You're always chasing, 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 and it shouldn't be like that. It should be a healthy relationship is in two people who are just taking accountability of themselves, healing themselves so that they meet each other halfway and expanding together, separate together, and you know so that's it. There's not necessarily a mission involved. Sometimes I think really the true mission is in self-mastery.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. It's not like, oh, you're here to raise the vibration. Fuck that, I'm busy. I
No, but
I
they really did make a mockery out of true twin flame union, like a complete
it's
mockery out of it to where that,
cringe.
somebody who doesn't know anything about anything watches that and not just twin flame union, but the whole spiritual community, especially the one on Prime. I like the one on the the documentary on Prime better than the one on Netflix. Um, but it definitely made spiritual people look insane, like
Yeah.
completely insane.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, like when I became like more, into that stuff where I was able to discover myself through the work. Yeah, I know I sounded insane to people. Like where they would make fun of me, be like, okay, be present, and all that stuff. And it's true. Like it's just words, and it's not. I don't know. I think it's like, how spiritual people are supposed to look or be or talk.
It's a stereotype.
Oh yeah. Like where you wear that.
Your garbs.
Yeah, the garb. It's the fucking garb and holding your heart and saying yes. Like, oh, that makes me cringe. But it's just like, and I do yoga and ayahuasca. Like, wear white, light a
White and
candle,
gold.
white and gold, light a candle, have your incense, sage the house. Um, yes, these are still good practices. I'm not saying like I'm not making fun of it, but like that doesn't make you spiritual. It doesn't. Your actions, what you do and how you carry yourself, how you heal, how best you can be human and hold space and not be spiritually judgmental of others who are not spiritual like you, that kind of thing. It's like holding the space and understanding where people are at in their journey, despite being awake or not. That.
Well, it's the
Yeah.
spiritual ego that likes to create that separation, right? Because your vibration is so high. And so you just don't connect with these 3D people anymore, because you're so much better and more enlightened and more awakened than these people, the sheep, you know?
Sheeple. Oh fuck, I hate that word too. Sheeple.
Yeah. So, and it overlaps, like the whole thing with the twin flames universe is it overlaps with the insanity in the new age community as well, and some of the ideas and things that are happening there. But it is definitely super cult like, and encouraging people to isolate themselves from their families, and um again, because they're better than them, their vibrations don't match, that kind of stuff. Now there is a time and place for no contact. There is a time and
Of
place for
course.
that,
Yeah.
but this is everything in a cult is always taken to the extreme.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that kind of stuff. And what was most shocking to me was the whole gender transitioning stuff.
Oh, that was fucking weird, bro.
That blew my mind.
I didn't get that.
Yeah. So what these two, the Jeff and Shalia, right? They promise people who are working with them, taking their classes, they promise them, make a
Guarantee.
guarantee that they will be in their twin flame union, that they will attract their twin flame union. And they were encouraging these people to basically stalk who they identified as their twins, like actually stalk. There were people arrested for stalking and put in jail.
Yeah, that blew my mind too. The guy is like literally like the girl was stalking him and he would be like, I'm not your twin flame. Like, leave me
Yeah.
alone. Like, fuck off.
But they were encouraging her. Like, you don't give up on your twin flame. You go after him. Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's insane. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like what do we know about twin flames? I mean, just to kind of lay it down for people. Like the idea that I think people have, like ultimately, if we look at the grander scheme of things, everybody had they, just without doing work, are completely traumatized. Their inner child or subpersonality parts are in the forefront, leading the way. Everybody's love starved. Everybody's just looking for that saving, being saved, or saving somebody, someone they could help fix, like whatever it is to give them a sense of feeling like you know, it's, and then they meet somebody and it's fireworks. It's like, holy shit, I met the one. It's like we have so much in common. We have very similar life experiences, all the things. It's just like
The
instant attraction.
synchronicities. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
instant attraction.
synchronicities, the euphoria, like we talked about a little bit in the last video.
Yeah, feeling the fireworks, the all of that. Like can't get enough. I feel addicted. Wanting more. So much. Give me the sex. Like that stuff, like the extra extreme things. And it's like I finally found the one, you get me, uh that stuff.
This is after like a couple weeks.
Not even.
like
a day or
2
two
weeks. Yeah.
max. Yeah. Like it's, we're going to move in, or, you know, all that stuff, like whatever it is. It's really quick. I'm falling in love. Um, so what's happening here energetically, or at least in the background, you know, it looks nice on paper. It's all that stuff that you see in the movies. So, you know, understanding that the connection is like, okay, you got to look for that connection because that's special. That's unique. But what's
That's
happening
the
is that
one.
that's the one. It's the wounds inside. Those two inner children are inside orchestrating those adult bodies, just wanting love, starved, wanting that love, mirroring back the reflection of, you know, fill me up. I need to feel special. I need to feel that love. I need to feel complete. And through that, yeah, you have your trauma bond. The traumas inside are bonding together because the voids are being filled by each other. Unsustainable, by the way, because you're not doing it yourself. The moment you give your power to somebody else to fill you up is the moment that you give them the power to take it all away. And then what? You're empty again. So that's why it's really important to do the work. That way you know thyself. When you're able to love yourself and know thyself, then you'll look at that other person and be like, great, I like you. I take accountability. You take accountability. If you don't, then it's not good enough for me. You know, you set the standard, you set the bar. This is no bar zone. This is just like whatever. I don't care. I'm getting my needs met. It feels good. All is well. Meanwhile, the
Until it's not.
entities, yeah, until it's not. And the entities are like, yeah, let's put the bubble, let's put the trance bubble around them. And then, you know, everything's great, lovey-dovey until you get to your first fight or conflict. You know, to know somebody is to know how they are in conflict or how they carry themselves in conflict. If there's no awareness, you'll feel guilty, you know. You'll feel bad for hurting the other person. You'll do all, you know, feel all the things and then try to fix it really fast, or trying to get
You
back
just
to that. You want to chase that love again, like that feeling, the
you just
feeling that
want
you
to
had
resolve
initially.
it, right? Because the feeling of that love not being there anymore or being taken away is so, I can't, it's like a bomb to the heart, you know, like I can't
Yes.
even, so I just want to fix it as fast as possible and I'll do anything to fix it. And that means betraying the self.
Yes.
And then so you enter into that cycle of self-betrayal, and it happens slowly and it happens over time, and it's a very insidious type of abuse that starts to ensue, a very insidious dynamic
Hmm.
where the shadows are dancing. Shadows are dancing. The inner children are just trying to get their needs met.
Yes. Yeah. And trying to chase back to the initial feeling of that
Euphoria. Yeah.
euphoria. Yeah. So, you know, some people work on those cycles where it's just like, fine, it's amazing. They fight, it's fire. They make up and it's amazing. And then the cycle goes again. And that's how they thrive. It's just going on that cycle. When it comes to like these twin flame things, again, the idea of, you know, they bring in romance, they bring in sex, they bring in all the things that are completely giving your power away. You know, you can have sex, but in a very conscious way, in one that is very meaningful, not one that is fulfilling a need inside. It's not that, it's
Like
connection.
a lower desire. Yeah.
Yeah, it's connection. And yeah, it's romanticizing it. That's the part that is like, I just want to meet my twin flame so that we can have the ultimate romance, and then disguising it as a mission together to I don't know what.
Yeah. The ultimate romance.
Yeah, like with a banner. It's yeah, it eventually in the relationship you're going to start to recognize or see the imbalance. Who's always going to be the fixer? Who's always going to say the sorries? Who's always going to do, you know, the things? Or who's always fucking up and then not doing anything about it? You know, like you're going to start to see the patterns. of that dysfunction and of things not changing or getting better or whatever. And it's like when you identify yourself as twin flame, then it's like, then you will do everything to abide by saving that relationship because your identity is built around it.
That's the danger. That's the
Yeah.
danger. The
Or you,
pain
yeah.
on some of those, you know, because the the leaders of Twins Flames universe, they would use their followers to kind of be a representation, you know, the ones that were in union as a representation of, look, this is what we can do. We can help you attract your twin too. And so they would invite these people on stage or have them speak on video about
Mm-hmm.
how they were doing and how lucky they were to be in union, and the pain on their faces when they had to
Oh,
sit there and pretend.
but it's not at all convincing. If you're able to really read energy, like if you really are aware of that, or even just to see it, it was so obvious. You can't be like looking at somebody and be like, that's definitely a woman in love.
No,
Like,
she was literally crying her eyes out, but then that could be interpreted by them because their lens is clouded as, you know, she's so in love that she's crying about it, you know? Like, because the lens, when you're in a cult, you don't have your own perception anymore. You're seeing through the eyes of what they want you to see.
right. And what also blew my mind was the guy saying, like, he's like, yeah, you can demand your woman sex and she has to give it to you. I'm like, what? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even have any words for that. I was like, okay, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like taking spiritual concepts and twisting them to suit their own agenda. And it, especially with the gender thing, that really blew my mind. So what ended up happening
Hmm.
was, you know, they promised all these people, guaranteed all these people that they would attract their twins. And I think there was only like one or two couples that were in union out of hundreds of people. So what they started to do was they they told them that they channeled God, and God told them who the pairs were, and all the pairs existed in the group. All the twin flames were already there. They just had to match them together. And a lot of them were same-sex couples because a lot of them in the group were women. It was mostly women. So they matched all these women together, and then they started telling one of those women in the pair that they were the divine masculine,
And therefore that means what?
that you got to transition and be a man.
And the girl was like, no, I don't identify. And they'd be like, you take accountability, or what is it? They're saying like you're running away, or I don't know what he said. Like just
They were
putting
trying
it
to
on
make her
them.
change her name from Anne to Dan. I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh because it's so messed up. But like
It's
for
fucked
real.
up. No, that's fucked up.
No, but she had enough strength inside of her to say no. But you know, it cost them everything because their whole business was tied
Built around
in.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. It cost them everything to say no. And but there are other people that are still there that are transitioning because they were told they're the divine masculine and that's what they have to do. So here they are twisting what is a divine masculine and making it about being a man. When a
Right.
divine masculine is an energy, we both have divine feminine and divine masculine energies within us. And when we're in a balanced state of being, it doesn't matter what gender you are, what body you're inhabiting. If your energy is balanced, it's balanced. And that's really the goal of twin flame union, is to balance those energies so that you're not hardcore either one or the other, but balanced in both. And they just took that concept and
Like literal.
completely literal. Yeah, literal. You have to be a man.
Yeah. Really weird.
And people are literally transitioning, getting surgeries, getting their breasts chopped off, you know, like because they were told by these people who
Or
took on
gurus.
God, the gurus. I think they actually call themselves gurus, which is a
Well, he called
huge red
himself
flag.
the first coming. He's
He
not the
called
second
himself
coming.
Jesus.
Yeah, he's like, I'm the first coming or something like that. He didn't even say second coming. It was the first coming. He's Jesus because he grew his hair. He had a beard. It's fucking weird. And like, God, you could really see like those kind of entities that come in, like take advantage of the like that. And then how it creates again, like, you know, with the cult stuff, like how they create also. It's in a way a love bite because the whole group is entranced by this whole thing. And it makes it very difficult for them to get out because they get melded into the group, and therefore you lose your sense of self, your identity or whatever.
You
It becomes
lose,
part of it.
yeah, you lose your ability, your actual ability to critically think, because that part of the brain gets shut off.
Yeah, because
When
if they're
you're
telling you
being
what to do all the
abused,
time. Yeah.
right? You're being abused. So that part of the brain gets completely shut off. In order to survive, you have to acclimate to the beliefs of the group. Whether it's online or not, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, these people are super predators. They are
Super.
100% false light. 100%. If you want to know how false light works, watch these documentaries and it'll show you. It's almost exactly the same as the other two,
Oh,
Eldora and Siman,
mm-hmm.
the documentary that was done on them. It's almost identical to the same tactics being used. And this is how you can see the false light entities, really dark, they're really dark, working through these people. They start out with pretty good intentions and then they just
Yeah.
it gets more and more and more corrupted. More and more and more corrupted.
Yeah. They start to get following, they start to feel special, they start to get praised and worshipped, and then there goes the ego, takes keeps on going. And then they start to get money out of it. And so therefore they're driven by things. Like I thought it was so weird. I'm like that whole the spiritual concept and them, you know, having like fancy cars and name brand things, but flaunting it as if like that's, you know, it's just so I don't know.
Distorted.
Yeah, it's very irky. Like it doesn't make sense. Like it anyway.
Um, by the end too, like you can see the wife, his wife, was kind of always sitting behind him. So they weren't sitting side by side anymore. She was kind of like always sitting in a chair a little bit behind him. And the energy she was giving off felt like, you know, he's probably in the majority of control in that relationship, is what it felt like.
Yeah.
And she was kind of just there putting up with it,
Yeah.
which was really sad. It was really sad to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, there's like, and this is happening a lot more than we know. And I'm kind of glad that there's more and more light being shed on these like spiritual cults, you know, because they target very, very vulnerable people,
Mm-hmm. It's so sad.
traumatized and vulnerable people. And
Yeah.
it, yeah, because initially it all looks good on the surface, right? Everybody wants their twin flame, everybody wants to be in love.
Well, yeah. It's like who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want to find somebody? So yeah, of course, it's a great marketing thing in the name of spirituality. So we were talking about this a little bit in our group, not necessarily about that topic, but just twin flames in general, or people who have. I mean, I think more or less everybody's been in an imbalanced relationship, I'll call it that, where it's like the narcissist empath dynamic with the guise of like, you know, I think I'm in a relationship, a twin flame relationship. You know, the question that comes up is it it's making me think like is it even possible to be in a relationship like you know a healthy one? Yeah, it is. Again, the what it requires is a lot of hard work. an individual journey. And, yes, you could use the concept of the twin flame thing. Again, it's about what you can use to your advantage in order to evolve and to heal. And yeah, you could use the mirror. They say it's a mirror to you. But of course, in comes the mirror. It's going to also reflect all your shadow. And so by using that shadow, that's why twins run, because they don't want to see their reflection. But that could also be a point in which it's like, yeah, show it to me so that I can heal it, and vice versa. They, like if people are willing and able to see themselves and really want to do it just for themselves, not for in the name of outside love, like relationship love. It's really like, no, I need to do it for myself because I want to stop suffering. I want to be able to hold space for myself so that I could be, in the end, they say you come in the world alone, you leave alone. It's like, can you be able to be alone and be okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
And then when someone comes into your life, it's like, great, like wonderful. You add to my life. I'm not living for you. I'm living for myself, but you're adding to my life and vice versa. It's like two people coming together, two whole people coming together.
Right. It's not the energy of completion. Like I need that person to complete me.
Yeah.
To make me whole, to make me feel loved, all of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to mention about the mirroring with the twin flames universe. Their one thing that they told people to do was the mirror exercise. So if they were upset with someone, their partner, they were to then, go back and fill in the blanks with, with their own self. And that can take things to the extreme because again, there's no nuanced thought there. If someone is outwardly abusing you and you do the mirror exercise, you're then blaming it all on yourself,
Mm-hmm.
but there is a responsibility to that other person too. Yes, you are responsible for what you're allowing, but the way they did it, it was completely twisted and corrupted. Everybody that shows up in your life, whether it's a twin flame or relationship, whatever it is, they're always going to mirror to you who you are.
Everybody's is a mirror to you. Everything, not just your
Everything,
twin.
right? Everything that shows up in your reality is a mirror to you. Yeah. And you can either use that as an opportunity for healing and growth, or you can be a victim to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
sometimes, that healing and growth means creating boundaries with people, like doing hard things that don't come easy to you, things that you've never done before, really, like saying no, honoring yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's totally possible. It's just very rare, I find, because, people could do the work and then they plateau. They're not checking in anymore. And then it's like, there's always more to discover. So it's like you're always going to have to maintain it.
Mm-hmm.
Just as you would water your plants, you got to keep watering it and taking care of yourself. And then there's always more to heal in there. It's just like a matter of like being able to go through it. But yeah, I just was really distraught by that whole thing. It's so like, what are you telling people? Like, it's so far from what it really is, what the journey really is. Because even when we learned what it was, they're saying it's like the ultimate union where I think it was mission based, or you get together and you, I don't know. There's like all these stages that you have to surpass in order to get to union or something like that. But in the end, it's like, what the fuck? Who cares? You know, like in the end, in the grander scheme of things, like who cares? Like if you're in union or not, like it's just,
It doesn't matter in the
just,
end what
yeah,
label you put on your relationship.
right. Yeah, it really
As long as
doesn't.
you love and respect each other, like it doesn't matter. So, you know, there are people leaving marriages and children, you know, because they're searching for their twin flame, you know, perfectly healthy marriages and
Right,
stuff like that, you know, like because it's the twin flame. It's like the thing that you have to have.
right. It's weird. It's like become like this badge of honor. Like you have to, it's so special.
There are so many, yeah, there are so many distorted teachings around it too that keep people in these cycles of abuse and then, you
Right,
know, leaving families behind, leaving your core families behind, isolating because you have this idea that you're so, your vibration so much higher and you're so much more evolved.
right, right. Okay, we were talking also about like, you know, how some people like they say like they're twins, you know, of course it's your twin. You're supposed to look alike. I was telling Tina, I go, we don't look alike.
Mm-mm. No, we're like yin and yang. Look at us right now. Totally
Oh
opposite.
yeah. I feel like
But I think that might be the true energy, right? I mean, because you need the opposites. They can't be the same. If they're the same, it's not going to work.
right. It's like a misconception.
Yeah,
It's complementary,
right.
but yeah, it's all like whatever, you know, like I just think so long as you're in a relationship with somebody who loves and respects you and who's not there to save you, and it's a very balanced and space where they are taking, like I said, accountability for their own triggering and vice versa. Like everybody is on their own individual path.
Yeah.
That's it. It's very simple in the grander
Mhm.
scheme of things. It's not anything more complicated than that. Like I remember like when I was really like looking into the twin flame stuff, and there was this gal who contacted me um on Facebook or something, and she was really deeply in the twin flame stuff, and she was like, she's like, oh yeah, I'm in union. And I remember like some people say like I'm in a twin flame relationship, but there's a triplet. I'm like, what does that fucking mean? Like you hear the absurd things. Anyway, this gal was like, yeah, I'm in union. I've never met him, but we meet in the astral and we have sex all the time in the astral. And that's how we have our union. I'm like, how does that make any fucking sense? Like you're probably fucking a demon. Like it's just it's just like stepping back from that, and I'm like, no, I that doesn't resonate. Like that's just weird.
Mhm.
Like how does that, like bringing that into reality, it's like how is that even
Well, that's it. It becomes so disconnected. When you get into these groups and these cults, it becomes so disconnected from reality.
completely, it makes no sense.
It's not grounded.
No,
It's
that's
not
it.
grounded,
Right,
meaning you're able to anchor it in to reality. It's just completely not grounded. And
right.
that's what false light is. It's not grounded in reality.
Yeah. Oh, there's this other gal we knew. Look like her twin flame was this dead actor, okay? And I'm like, how is that gonna work? Like, what does that mean? Like, just waiting and waiting for him. I'm like, how? to incarnate, like how, or a walk-in, like they use these things like he's gonna be a walk-in. Now I gotta go find the walk-in. I'm like, how are you gonna find the walk-in?
It's just it's that they're all diversion tactics to keep you off your path.
Right. Oh my God. I was like, please tell me you're not gonna wait. Like that makes no sense. Because someone channeled and told her this. I'm like, okay, see, this is where we're talking about like the channeling, again, spiritual things that people do. Just because someone channels it doesn't mean that it's fucking true.
Well, nobody believes what you have to say unless you have your eyes closed and you're channeling a higher entity.
Right. That's weird too. If we say it with our eyes open, that's why I said, I was like, well, do you want me to close my eyes and tell you for it to be valid?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, the
weird.
channeling thing.
No, like I'm open and willing to hear people who like, will channel, like, but I'm not attaching to it. I'm just watching. But usually it's a
There
hard no for me.
there are some good there's some good advice that comes through, spiritual advice that comes through in channelings, but there's no real depth to it. It's kind of like the same things repeated over and over and over again, and
It's like fortune
people,
cookies,
yeah, and people kind of get a high off of those things, and
reading your horoscope.
there's no real depth to it. And even, some of the so-called history that is channeled, like earth history that they give us, I don't trust any of it.
Mm-mm.
Because who are these entities? Why are they giving us the history? They have to have some kind of agenda behind it. What do they want us to believe? What are they leaving out? That's what I always want to know.
Yep.
What are they leaving out?
Yeah, and especially those that are like, oh, we're all good, we're saved. When that comes out, just step back and be like, look at the state of the world. Are we really saved?
Like new earth any day now, that kind of stuff.
Oh God. Still waiting at the bus stop.
No. New earth is a total psyop.
Oh fuck yeah. The new earth is here. Just put on your virtual goggles
Yeah.
and accept the terms and conditions. There, contracted in, signed.
Mm. Speaking of the new earth, this has been coming up a lot recently, and it's there was actually a post on the forum. Somebody was really, really upset because apparently someone had posted a picture of Dolores with some kind of like template over her face, and they were saying that she worked with the dark forces and all this kind of stuff. And there were like comments going back and forth or whatever. I didn't see the post, but
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of people like questioning Dolores and questioning the work or the information that came through in her sessions. And
That's
then,
fair.
yeah, but then totally discounting
The
the
work and
whole
the
of
whole.
her work. Yeah.
Right. So the baby and the bathwater's out too.
Yeah. 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 And so what I want to say about that is it's good to question things, especially the concepts like the new earth and that kind of stuff. But Dolores really was a trailblazer in exploration of consciousness. None of us would be here right now doing this work if Dolores hadn't paved the way in the way that she did. And look at what she's offered to the earth realm as a whole in all of the books that she's written and the information that she's shared that has expanded the consciousness of people, that has awakened people. You can't take that from her.
Mm-mm.
You just can't. You can't take that from her and saying that she's working with the dark forces. Could there have been some false light that came through in her sessions? Sure. But that doesn't discount the whole of her work. It just doesn't.
Right. It doesn't equal the totality. I think that's the issue here. It's like people are all in or all out. Again, it's
Yeah, it's
not being
so
able to take,
extreme.
yeah, like they can't just take like, okay, yeah, she did explore. Like for us, it's like, yeah, we do explore consciousness, but doesn't mean that we agree with all the information that comes through. It doesn't resonate. Perhaps we're evolving. Our consciousness is expanding and evolving. And therefore, so will the practice.
Yeah. Well, that's what I wanted to say too, is like when Dolores was doing this work, she didn't know any better. She didn't know to question the beings that were speaking.
Well, just like how people are now, right? They're not questioning either. But
Right.
it's
You
like a,
question,
yeah,
questioning who's channeling through, you know?
right.
Um, she definitely did not do that because she was working with the dark forces and she's like evil Dolores. Like, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous,
Right.
you know? Yeah. But yeah, we are evolving in consciousness and we're starting to ask more questions, and that's totally fine. It's like you can't discredit all the work that she did. You
No,
know,
not
that's
all of
just
it.
that's just where we were at the time, and it's up to you to sift through that information and use your own discernment and test your own skills um and what's true and what's not, you know? Like all she did was report the information. That was her job. She was a reporter. Like, this is what's coming through. Here it is. Take it, use your own discernment. She's never asking anybody to believe anything.
Yep.
It is what it is. Like, we post sessions too. You don't have to believe anything that comes through in those sessions.
Right.
That doesn't mean that we're evil. Like,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, it's an evolution of consciousness, and we're just in a different place now than when Dolores was alive and doing the work. And, especially the last 3 years and seeing the layers of deception in this place, of course, you're just naturally going to start questioning even hypnosis sessions and channelings and all of those things. That's a natural progression of the consciousness as we are seeing the layers of deception more and more and more.
Yep. Yeah, we see it in very different ways. So whatever may have been happening in that timeline may not reflect what's happening in this one. Like it's so multi-layered. It's not, but anyway,
Right, because we did see you said it in one of our last videos, I think, that there was a timeline shift.
oh yeah, with Iris, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or it looked like, was it with Iris? Or is that just a
Mhm.
discussion we had with her? I don't think we did a video on it, but it was the idea in which that a lot of souls got trapped here because of the initial intention of, yes, we're going to come to help, or whatever the case is, the reasons for why
Volunteer.
the volunteering is. But upon entry, you're consenting to entering the matrix, and that's kind of a free for all in the game. And therefore they, like, what I saw was that we all came in and then they shifted the timeline. So the initial agreement of coming, of entry, was to help, but then they changed the timeline into a trapping motion, into a whatever it is now. So then the initial timeline is just all trash. So I think, like, yeah, maybe some people did come in here with the same idea. I came here to volunteer, but then, yeah, it just gets thrown out because the program changed.
The program change. Yeah. Yeah. All
All right. Well, that
right.
was a great topic. Now we're moving on to cats. Let's transition and
Oh,
then we'll wrap it up. But yeah, I think that the cats thing is very interesting. I mean, yes, we have a cat now, as some of you may know. But yeah, talk about your experience and then the experience of others.
I just wanted to bring this topic up because I was curious if any of you guys were noticing an uptick in feline energy. Um, yeah, because so we have a cat now who followed us home in the summer, like popped out of a bush one day, came out of nowhere, followed us home. We do have like stray cats and feral cats that kind of come and go. This one was new, came out of nowhere, and this was after Coco died. Anyway, to make a long story short, around that time, because I really did not want another pet.
No,
No,
I didn't
not
either.
not after everything that happened with Coco and how stressful that was. Um, but I felt like he was Coco coming back. I mean, all the signs were there that he was Coco coming back in a cat body this time.
That's not a love bite.
um anyway, around that time that he came, I was, I was looking through the cat groups and stuff because I was looking for his owner. Maybe somebody lost him. Does he have a microchip? All those things. And as I was scrolling through the groups, I noticed that the same cat looked like Bubba, same exact cat, was showing up in other people's yards out of the blue.
Maybe
Like it
it's
was a
maybe
thing.
maybe it's Bubba's timelines like compression.
Yeah. Because it's so interesting. Like we were just talking, everyone's a mirror to us, right? So, like the notary guy that came over one day, he's like, "Oh, nice cat." He's like, "I got one just like it that shows up in my yard for food." I'm like,
Yeah,
"Okay."
I bet.
He's like, "Yeah, my wife feeds her every day." Like, okay. I don't know what's up with these cats, but so that was then. Then, Bubba was here, so we ended up staying, and then moving into fall, there were these there was like a shift and these two little cats. There's a little black cat and a little multicolored cat, and they were like the same size and they were like buddies and they would hang out back and I would feed them, and Papa does not like them. Like he really, really hates them. And I don't know why. Actually, the very first day I noticed those cats was the October 4th, actually, the day of the signal
Mm-hmm.
was the first time I noticed that little black cat. And when I was writing to you about him, my phone predicted demiurge. So I'm like, great, this cat's being planted here in order to create distress in my life, to make Bubba upset, and then to cause anxiety. It's like this whole looping thing that's happening. So what's also interesting is that I had a dream one night that there was a gorilla, like a big black gorilla on the left side of my backyard and a big puma on the right side of my backyard. And what's interesting is there's a cat out back, one of the cats that looks like a puma, but it's small, like domestic size cat, or maybe just a little bit bigger. But he has like these weird green eyes. You should show that picture because it's really funny.
I know I shared it in group.
Here he is.
You have it. Okay, good.
Yeah, look at that face. Hold on. Wait, it's not picking up.
Your hand behind it.
Hold
Look.
on, let me turn the light off maybe. You can see that one eye. Oh,
Oh,
there.
there. Yeah, look at him. I was like, "Meow."
Look at that
And
face.
that thing on his head, like that middle
Yeah.
part, it's like
Yeah.
royalty or something of hierarchy of a cat, or I don't know what.
Yeah. And the one night Bubba was yelling at the front door. So I came out to look, and that cat was sitting on my chair on the porch. And I'm like, what is happening? It was so weird. And what's interesting about that, like the next day or the day after, I saw him like limping, like his right back leg was hurt. He was limping around. I'm like, oh my God, no, this is like a trap, like trapping me with these cats. Like I can't do it, it's just too much.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, Tina, help me. Help me. It's like that
Yeah.
little bird. Oh, that bird.
That's the other thing. So there's the feline energy and the avian energy that's coming in really strong. Do you want to tell the bird story?
Yeah. Tina went out to go walk Bubba because he's a cat on a leash type of thing. And she was just like on the far end of the building where she lives, and I came out on the deck just to sit down, and I was just chilling out there. There was her upstairs neighbor, their parents left. So they came down, opened the door. I said, "Hello, happy Thanksgiving." They left. A couple of minutes later, Tina is coming back with Bubba, and she's going up the stairs. And I see her pause because I'm looking straight. So I have the whole vision of the entire deck, like even the other neighbor, like on the other side's deck. So I have all that. And so if things are coming into the field, into my vision or whatever, I'll see it. It's very obvious. So anyway, she's coming up the stairs and she's like kind of stops at the top. And I'm looking at her like she's looking at something. And I look and there's all of a sudden this bird on the floor, like where the people just came out of.
In front
And
of
I'm
the
like,
door, right in front
yeah,
of the
right
door.
in front of the door. And I'm like, I didn't see this bird. It was not there. And she picked up Bubba, and I was trying to go to the bird, like, but it was started hopping. Like I was getting really close to it and it wasn't moving. So I'm like in my head, I'm like, oh my God, like, are you hurt? Like, are you dying? Like, what's going on? And it started to hop away, like in pain. And it eventually went under the other neighbor's chair. What was interesting also was that Tina was telling me that before she went up the stairs, the neighbor was in front of her. She was watching him hobble, or as if like the same type of pain that this bird was having, went
Yeah,
up the
because
stairs,
yes, that's
went up the stairs and went into the apartment. But I'm like, absolutely not. I did not see him. It's a Filipino neighbor. I think I say hi to him all the time. And when I see him, he came up before her. He didn't even say hi to me.
well, let me tell it from my perspective.
Yeah, please.
So I'm coming back, I'm walking through the grass, coming back here to the apartment. As I'm walking through the grass, all of a sudden this bird is right in front of me. It flies up. I almost stepped on it. It was sitting in the grass. It flies up to the railing and I see it like it's like can't get its balance. And I'm like, oh my God, please don't be hurt. Why are you hurt? Please. Like, I just don't want to deal with this. Because I always find the hurt birds. They always come to me. Or they're always being given to me or planted, you know? So I'm like, please don't be hurt. So anyway, so I saw him, he got his balance. And then I was distracted by the neighbor who had just gotten out of his car and he was walking up to the steps. And I'm perpendicular to him. So I'm watching him walk up to the steps. And yeah, he was like bent over like this. And I'm like, looking at him like, is he okay? I don't know why he's walking like that. I'm like, I hope he's okay. But he's like walking like this. So my attention went from the bird to him. And I watched him walk up the steps and go into his apartment. I'm like, okay, that was weird. But then I saw he was like carrying bottles under his arm, like they were slipping. So he was like trying to hold them, you know, when you do that sometimes.
Mhm.
Um, so that's why he was walking like that. But it's still interesting that he was like he looked like a bird. Anyway, so I turn to come up the steps and I see this little bird sitting in front of the door that comes out of nowhere.
It came out of nowhere because I was facing that way the whole time and it did not come in my vision.
And I was like, wait, I just saw another injured bird right over there. So I was like looking around for the other injured bird, who now I think it had to be the same bird.
And happened to find your deck.
Yeah,
And in the vision of the cat twice,
twice.
as if planted there to be eaten.
I think first time it was planted there to be eaten by the
By
cat.
Bubba. Or any cat.
Yeah, by Bubba to cause me trauma
Again.
again. And so twice it was planted, once right in front of my feet. He didn't see it at all. He had no idea the bird was there, which was amazing. He
Ugh.
didn't see it fly up. He didn't see any of it. But he did see the bird at the top of the stairs. So that was the second time it was planted right there. So yeah, you scooted the bird over there. I took Bubba inside. By that time, of course, he saw it and I had to take him back into the bedroom. And then the neighbor comes out and he's like, "Oh, what's happening?" And I'm like, "There's a bird here." And he's like, "Oh, I didn't see the bird." Because he walked up
Yeah.
before me. He walked up right
Yeah.
before me.
Right. He was talking like I didn't see it before. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, when did you? Of course you didn't see it because the people left and Tina came up. I never saw him. He was not there in my vision.
Well, he
But
was there
Tina
in
saw,
mine.
but he was there in her reality, and we were literally like feet apart. So it was really odd to have the same collective experience where we saw two different things. Like, I mean, he was not in mine. And I'm wondering, it begs me to wonder, was, like how we see like portals show up in movies or shows, like, was that blocking whatever was
Hmm.
coming up? That I was just seeing through it and like, okay, what a great day. And then it he goes in, the portal closes, the bird's on the floor. Tina comes up and we both see the bird.
I think
Like
you're
it
probably
was
right.
it was fucking weird. Like, because I did not see him at all. He didn't even come up the stairs. Like I didn't see him. Because like I said,
How
I
would
would
the
have said
bird
hi to
have
him.
gotten there? It would have had to fly by you. It would have had to fly by me. There's no way neither of us saw the bird fly there. It couldn't even fly.
Right. I think it
And
used
it
its
couldn't have
last thing of
it
juice to
it
fly up the
it
railing.
couldn't yeah, it couldn't have been there when the people walked out. They would have smashed it.
Or stepped on it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so weird. It was so weird. So, I got the bird lady on speed dial, so I call her. And I send her a video and she's like, "Oh, I think it's a little sparrow." And I'm like, "Well, it looks like a finch to me, but okay." And she said, "I'm at work." She's like, um, "Just pick him up in a little towel or blanket, put him in a box." And, he could have just flew into a window and got stunned. But his little leg was like curled up. His eyes were open and looked fine. He didn't have that bird virus thing. Um, and she said, if you bring him inside overnight, I can pick him up tomorrow, or you can drive him to Cedar Run to the wildlife rescue, or you can call animal control. And sometimes depending on how busy they are, sometimes they'll take them there for you. And I was like, okay. Karen was on her way out to the door to an appointment. So I'm like, all right, let me just call animal control and see if they can take the bird because it's 45 minutes away. And it'll save us a trip. So I call and they divert me to 911. I'm like, what's happening? Why are they like sending me to 911? So I'm like on with 911. I'm like, I don't know if I have the right number, but I just found an injured bird. Like on 911, you know?
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, well, it is a small town. It's not like there's much going on, but um, and she's like, oh yeah, I'll send an officer out soon. He's on his way. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. But okay, it's a Saturday, so whatever. So you leave for your appointment, the officer comes out. The little bird sitting, I sat on the porch with the little bird in the box. She took a little nap because I think I'm pretty sure I know it was a female finch. It wasn't a sparrow, it was a female finch because they're here all the time. And I know what they look like. Um, so the cop comes, sees the bird. I'm still not understanding why a cop has to come, but
Oh, she asked him.
I'm kind of going with it because yeah, whatever. Anyway, so we're standing on the deck. This is another part of this whole thing. As we're standing on the deck, the way the sun is beaming on the deck, it's coming in at an angle and it's shining right on him. And he kept remarking, oh my God, the sun, it's so bright, so bright. Wow. And we were just kind of like making small talk because I don't know, like waiting for the animal control guy to call. Um, And as the sun's shining on him, and I'm like standing like 2 feet away from him, I'm watching and I'm seeing these particles like flying out of his mouth as he's talking, but not just coming out of his mouth. It was like exuding from his whole field, like these little particles. They almost look like particles of light or something. So I'm backing away because I'm like, am I seeing this right? Like, am I seeing correctly right now? Questioning my reality. Like, I'm like looking because I'm like, is this just like particles in the air? Because you know how sometimes we have those little bugs, those little gnats that fly around? I thought maybe it was just them or I didn't know. But no, there was I kept watching his mouth. There was like more and more particles coming out as he was talking.
It's not spit.
It wasn't spit.
Yeah, because I'm like, oh, it's like Daffy Duck.
No, it wasn't spit. No, because we even did an experiment to see if we could recreate it and we couldn't.
Right. There was nothing coming out of mine and there was nothing coming out of yours because I'm like, anything happening? I was saying my ABCs. I'm like, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Like,
No, we couldn't recreate it. Um, so that was kind of shocking to me and kind of really solidified for me that shedding is real.
hell yeah.
Shedding is real. Because I know and I've never seen it before with my eyes, but I can feel it. I can feel when those particles land in my throat. It lands right here and then it starts to spread.
Yeah. It goes back to the initial, like we talked about this, the initial party that we went to where right when they started to introduce the new agenda of the shots and stuff, and people were getting them. And we got really sick after that party. But when we remote viewed it, I was seeing like that the whole, like, there was a lot of garbage clouds. And I think that's what it is,
Mm-hmm.
the garbage clouds of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so the story with the bird's not over yet. So the cop leaves after the animal control guy calls. He's like, I'll be there in 25 to 27 minutes. I'm like, okay, that's very
Maybe that's
specific.
probably what Uber told him. Or the yeah.
And so the cop's like, okay, I'm gonna go. He'll be here soon. I'm like, all right. So I'm waiting for the guy, and the saddest thing happens. I swear this was all orchestrated. So as I see the animal control car pull in. It's coming down over the speed bumps, coming up to the house. And as it's coming in, a little male finch comes over to the feeder and is watching because he knows that something's going to happen to his partner as the truck's coming down. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? It was the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life. And he sat there and he watched and he flew away when the guy came up. And the guy just took the little bird, put him in the thing with blankets, and he's like, oh, he'll be out in the wild in no time. I'm like, okay. You're taking him to Cedar Run? Yeah, okay. Um, and off he goes. And then I go inside, and the little male finch comes back, and he's just sitting on the feeder looking around for her.
Oh my God, yeah, the bird was still there when I came back from my appointment. And he flew to the because you sent me a
Tree.
video and I came back and I'm like, oh man, you're still here.
So I'm like, this mother demiurge matrix just set up this whole scenario to injure and trap the feminine and to leave the masculine heartbroken and pining for her. So I'm like, I gotta call the rescue and see if I can, if she's okay, that maybe I can go pick her up and bring her back,
Mm.
after she's treated. So the next day I call them and she's like, I'm really not allowed to tell you anything over the phone, but we don't have a little finch. And she's like, you can draw conclusions from that. And I'm like, well, either she didn't make it or she wasn't dropped off. And she's like, yeah, she's like, I can't tell you any more than that without the intake number from animal control. So it's Sunday, animal control's not in. So I call them, I leave a message. They call me back the next day and leave a voice message and say, oh, we don't have a number because it was the weekend we contract out animal control duties. So I'm like, okay, because I got a weird feeling from the guy that came to get the bird.
Yeah,
He
it's
just
probably like a
had,
fucking Dexter.
yeah, well, it felt to me like Silence of the Lambs, like the guy with the bucket, like
Oh,
that, like the basement kind of thing. So I'm like, okay, now this guy has this little bird. It's probably trapped in a cage somewhere. Who knows what he's doing to her?
ew. These people are so gross if that's true.
But so then I realized that, okay, well, that's why they need to call the cops because it's just some person. It's not like official county animal control that comes out. It's just some person that's,
Some rando,
rando that's working for them.
quote
And
unquote.
yeah, and apparently he didn't take her to Cedar Run. I don't know what he did with her, but I'm like, I don't even know how to find that information out. And then I was talking to Glenn the other day and he's like, oh, why don't you just call him? And I'm like, oh shit, I could call him because he did call me that day. I forgot that I had his number.
I didn't know this. Now I'm learning the story. I'm like, then?
I haven't called yet because we've been busy, but I definitely will. I'm gonna call tomorrow because I want to know what happened. I kind of like want to know and I don't want to know at the
He
same
did
time.
call you
He did call me because he had to call and tell me,
25 to 27 minutes.
yeah, which I totally didn't. I totally forgot and didn't make that connection that I had his phone number.
Should be like, where's my bird?
Yeah, because I wanted to bring her back. I don't think she was that injured. I think she was probably just stunned or something, but I don't know.
Yeah, and even you said the cop car was not really, it was a weird cop car too.
Well, that's what the neighbor was saying. The neighbor that was, carrying the bottles. He was saying, it's
The
like, I
neighbor
don't,
I didn't see.
he's like, was that a cop? A Clayton cop? I was like, yeah. And he's like, I've never seen a black car before. He's like, they have white cars. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't really pay attention. So I'm like, I don't know. But then when we drove by, I was like, yeah, they all are all white cars. I don't know where this black car came from. And
I
it
was like,
had,
fucking Men in Black, forget it.
and on the side, it didn't have any markings that stood out, like that were bright. It was just all black. But
You got
on,
adjustment bureaued.
what I'm saying,
Because all the funny timeline shit happened after that. No,
yeah,
or around there.
around there, yeah.
Yeah, because the full moon was the next day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it
because
took,
that neighbor was adjustment bureaued.
oh,
Remember?
yes. Oh my God.
Ugh, anyway, cats. Next video. I think we talked about this already in another video.
We did.
We did.
That was in our adjustment bureau video. We talked about the name.
The same neighbor that I,
Same neighbor.
the Filipino neighbor.
They haven't been the same since that.
No, they fucking haven't because I haven't seen the wife since. I heard her talking when the bird was under because I went around that side and I was kind of blocking the bird in case it was going to come this way. But he came out, the
Yeah, she
sun
didn't
came out,
even
and
peek her
she,
head out.
but I heard her, and I'm like, that's weird. I go, she's,
I think she's sick a lot. I always hear like blowing noses and coughing and stuff. Maybe she's sick a lot.
I haven't seen her since. It's been a long time that I saw her, like physically saw her. So it's really weird.
Yeah, they haven't been the same since that adjustment bureau. But that whole thing with the bird was, yeah, it just felt so orchestrated.
Yeah.
And for the cat, I feel like the initial intention was for the cat to eat the bird to cause trauma that way. But because he didn't, they then gave it a second chance, put it through the portal on the porch. He didn't get it again. And then the last way was, okay, this bird is injured. And now you're going to take her away.
With Dexter.
Dexter. Hmm. Yeah, this place just,
Yeah, it was so sad. I came home after my appointment and found Tina crying on the bed.
don't make
It
me
was
cry
so
again. Yeah.
it was so sad. Anyway,
It was
well,
just so obviously orchestrated to create trauma, and whatever. That's why I almost didn't want to know what happened to her. I don't want to know that she's in like some weirdo's basement, you know?
yeah.
Anyway, I'd be curious if you guys have any cat or bird stories or like
Happy ones.
happy ones or weird ones or strange things or timeline
Yeah, something that's
shifts.
along the stream of what we talked today. But yeah. Well, thank you everyone for coming on to our show. Sorry we ended on a fairly sad and depressing note. But this is just the world we live in, right? Hopefully if we, bring all these weird stories to light, maybe we could kind of break the matrix in some way, break the program. But yeah, if you like the video, like it. If you want to subscribe and comment down below so we know that you've been here. We appreciate you all for being here, and hopefully we will come back in the next video, one that's more educational and upbeat.
Was my story depressing?
It was sad. It's
It
just really
is
sad.
sad.
It is sad. Whatever, if it's just what it is, this place is sad. Could be.
It is. I know.
It is. And it knows exactly how to hit you.
Yeah, it
So
certainly knows how to play on my empathy and knows exactly how to do that.
yeah.
Yeah. That's okay. They get a little cry and they're not getting more than that.
Never. Well, we'll see you guys in the next video. We appreciate you. And till next time.
Till next time. Bye, guys.
Bye. Peace.